Welcome, geometry students, to another Regents Review video. This is the January 2017 Regents examination in Geometry Common Core for New York State. We will be going over the solutions to Part 1, questions 13 through 24. This is the second half of the multiple choice section. Before we begin, I would like to just say one quick thing, actually two quick things. Please, if you are here to copy my answers and hand them in for homework or whatever purpose you're here for cheating purposes, please refrain from doing so. The Geometry Regents is very difficult, and I want everyone to do well. So please, if you're here to cheat, just try the problems on your own and then come back to me. If you are here, however, to check your answers, or you need a little bit of guidance because you don't know where to go on one of the questions, then you have come to the right place. And please hit that subscribe button down below, and please visit my website at www.nysmathregionsprep.com for much more math content. Without further ado, let's get started on question number 13. All right, question 13 says, on the graph below, point A, which is 3, 4, and B, C, with coordinates 4, 3, and 2, 1 are graphed. What are the coordinates of B prime and C prime after line segment BC undergoes a dilation centered at point A with a scale factor of 2? Okay, so what you have to do first, and this is kind of a tricky question, what you have to understand is you have to draw two rays from point A, passing through point B and passing through point C, okay? And I'll just put this on the side here. You had to draw two rays. Hold on one second. Oh, my apologies. Keeps switching here. So you have to draw two rays and then calculate the slope of each ray. And you will see that once you calculate the slope, then you have to use the dilation with a scale factor of 2 to determine those points. So the slope of ray A to the end of this point, I don't know what that is. We could call it C if we want, D if we wanted to. But the slope of this ray that you see here is down one and to the right one. Now, if we go down one and to the right one more time, this point will be the point B prime. Now, this ray over here, this is down 3 to the left 1. Go down 3 to the left one more time, and you will see that this is now C prime. This, ladies and gentlemen, is your dilated line by a scale factor of 2. So from here to here, this line is a dilation of 2. It shows a dilation of 2. So if we're looking at the points, point B prime is 0, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 2. So B prime is the point 5, 2, and C prime is the point 1, negative 2. So the answer for this one is going to be choice 1. That was definitely a trickier question, but you had to draw those rays or else you didn't know what to do. Number 14, in the diagram of right triangle ADE below, BC is parallel to DE. Remember what I keep saying. They tell you that these are parallel because they want you to conclude that triangle ADE is similar to triangle ABC by angle. Because these are right angles and A is reflexive. Now, which ratio is always equivalent to the sine of A? Well, the sine of anything, you should know that the sine of anything is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse, and that's based off of your knowledge of SOHCAHTOA. Now, the opposite of angle A for the smaller triangles BC over AB. So the sine of A could equal BC over AB, or it could equal the bigger triangle, which is going to be DE over AD. So it could be any one of these two. And if we look at our answer choices, the only one that would work would probably be choice 3, because BC and AB, that shows opposite over the hypotenuse. All right, moving on to question 15. In circle O, secants ADB and AEC are drawn from external point A such that points D, B, E, and C are on circle O. If AD is equal to 8 and AE is equal to 6 and EC is 12 more than BD, the length of BD is what? Hold on a second. There's no picture. You need to draw a picture. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's draw a circle, and I'm going to draw two secants. Oops. All right, I'm going to draw two secants. Now remember that a secant is just, I personally call it the extended chord. It passes through the circle at 2 points and extends outward in one direction. So these are your secants. Now, this is secant A. Oops. This is secant A, D, B, and then this is secant A, E, C. Okay? And it says that AD is 8 and AE is 6. And it says that EC down here is 12 more than BD. So BD is X and EC is X plus 12. What is the length of BD? Okay. When you were given two secants, you have to know the relationship of these segments. And the relationship to solve for X or solve for any length given two secants in a circle is wee. Wee is the formula that you need to use. And wee stands for whole times external equals whole times external. So take a look at the top secant. The whole thing is X plus 8. Your external point, which is on the outside of the circle, is 8. So we have the whole, which is X plus 8 times the external of 8, is equal to the whole thing down here. Now, this is the new whole. The whole down here is X plus, be careful, 6 plus 12 is 18 times the external of 6. So now we have an equation going. Okay? So from here, I'm actually going to move this down because it's too squished. So now we have an equation going. We're going to distribute that 8 and distribute the 6. So we get 8x plus 64 is equal to 6x plus 108. We are going to subtract the 6x on both sides, and I'm going to subtract the 64 on both sides. So we get 2x is equal to 44, and then we divide by 2 on both sides, and we get x is equal to 22. Now, we're trying to find the length of BD. Well, BD in this case is x. So since x is 22, BD must also be 22 as well. And that is going to be choice 2 is how you get that answer. All right, moving on to question number 16. A parallelogram is always a rectangle if it's what? So we're looking for the property that is specific to the rectangle. Okay? We're not looking for vagueness. We're looking for specificity. So choice 1 shows that the diagonals are congruent. Does that prove a rectangle? You bet it does. Choice 1's the answer. Diagonals bisect each other? No, that is a parallelogram. That is way too vague. Diagonals intersect at right angles. Diagonals intersect at right angles. No, that's a rhombus. That means that the diagonals are perpendicular. And the opposite angles are congruent? No, that is a parallelogram. So it has to be choice 1. Diagonals are congruent. Number 17. Which rotation about its center will carry the regular decagon onto itself? So what you have to know is the formula. 360 degrees divided by the number of sides is equal to the angle of rotation. In a decagon, there are 10 sides in a decagon. So it's 360 degrees divided by 10 sides, which is equal to 36 degrees. Huh. That answer is not there anywhere. But we're smart people. 36 can be multiplied into one of these numbers. Or 36 is a factor of one of these numbers, or a multiple. So is 36 a multiple of 54? No. Because when I say multiple, it has to be whole numbers. 162 and 36. Is 36 a multiple of 162? Well, let's check it out. 162 divided by 36. That's 9 halves. No, it's not a multiple. Now let's try 198. Okay, 198 divided by 36. No, that's not a multiple. Let's try 252. 252 divided by 36. Nice. That's a whole number. Therefore, 36 can go into 252 degrees evenly. So 252 is actually a multiple of 36. All right, and that's how you do question 17. Question 18. The equation of the circle is x squared plus y squared minus 6y plus 1 equals 0. What are the coordinates of the center and the length of the radius of the circle? So we need to use completing the square. And in completing the square, we keep your letters on one side, numbers on the other side. So we are going to move this 1 over. So we get x squared plus y squared minus 6y is equal to negative 1. So x squared plus y squared minus 6y plus something is equal to negative 1 plus something. In order to get this number in here, we need to use the formula b divided by 2 squared to get that number. Remember, we're trying to create a perfect square trinomial. So we take half the linear term, in this case is going to be negative 6. We take half the linear term and we square it. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is going to be 9 and 9. Now, this is factorable by the AM method. What adds to negative 6 and multiplies to give you positive 9? Well, that's going to be y minus 3, y minus 3. And that x squared, by the way, carries along for the ride down here, is equal to 8. Let's keep going. Y minus 3 and y minus 3 can be written as y minus 3 squared is equal to 8. So the center is 0, 3 because it's its opposite, and your radius is the square root of 8. Now, the square root of 8 can be broken down into a simplified radical by taking the square root of 8 into 4 and 2, because 4 times 2 is 8. The square root of 4 is a perfect square, so that is going to be 2. Radical 2 carries along for the ride. So your center is 0, 3, and your radius is 2 radical 2. The answer to that is going to be choice 1. Your center is 0, 3, and your radius is 2 radical 2. Okay, moving on. Number 19. Parallelogram ABCD has the coordinates 0, 7, and 2, 1. Okay, now these are A and C. Which statement would prove that ABCD is a rhombus? So, first I'm going to draw a rhombus. Okay, and that is not a rhombus. That looks like a parallelogram. That's a little bit better. Okay, so this is A, B, C, and D. Point A has a coordinate 0, 7. C has a coordinate 2, 1. Which statement would prove that this is a rhombus? So, what you have to know is AC is a diagonal. And in order to prove things to be a rhombus, the diagonals have to be perpendicular. So, we need to calculate the slope of AC. That's our goal. We have to calculate that slope. So let's do that right now. The slope of AC, which is equal to the change in y over the change in x, that's going to be 7 minus 1 over 0 minus 2. Unfortunately, this diagram is not drawn to scale because the slope is negative. So we get 6 over negative 2. The slope is negative 3. So therefore, if the slope of AC is negative 3, then the slope of BD is actually going to be the negative reciprocal, which is going to be positive 1/3. So the slope of BD is equal to 1/3 is a correct answer. That's going to be choice 3. Okay, moving on to number 20. This is on every Regents. Again, I will say it again. I teach this differently than most teachers. Most teachers tell you to graph it. I do it algebraically. But it says point Q is on line MN such that the ratio of MQ to QN is 2 to 3. If M has the coordinates 3, 5, and N has the coordinates positive 8, negative 5, the coordinates of Q are what? Okay, so we need to figure out these values. Well, I am going to say to use your formulas. Your formula to calculate these values, or for x value first, is x minus x1 over x2 minus x is equal to the given ratio. Your y value is y minus y1 over y2 minus y is equal to the given ratio. Okay? So now I'm going to calculate these values. So remember that this is your x1, this is your y1, this is your x2, this is your y2. It has to be that specific. You cannot make 8, -5, x1, y1. It has to be the first letter is M, that's your x1, y1, or else it will not work. So we have here, we have x minus 3 over 8 minus x is equal to the given ratio of 2/3. We are then going to cross multiply. So we get 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 2 times 8 minus x. Distribute these. We get 3x minus 9 is equal to 16 minus 2x. We're going to add that 2x on both sides. We get 5x, and I'm also going to add that 9 on both sides too. So we get 5x is equal to 25, and then you divide by 5 on both sides, and you get x is equal to the number 5. Now we're going to do the same thing to the y value. So we get y minus 5 over -5 minus y is equal to the given ratio of 2/3. Now I'm going to cross multiply these. So we get 3 times y minus 5 is equal to 2 times -5 minus y. I'm going to distribute the 3 and the 2. We get 3y minus 15 is equal to -10 minus 2y. I'm going to add that 2y to both sides. And I'm going to add that 15 to both sides. So we get 5y is equal to 5. Divide by the 5 on both sides. And you get y is equal to +1. And the coordinate is, of course, going to be choice 1, 5, 1. And that is how you do question number 20. And if you want to graph it, that's perfectly fine with me. All right. Coming down to the last few questions here. Number 21. In the diagram below of circle O, GO is 8, and the measure of angle GOJ is 60 degrees. What is the area in terms of pi of the shaded region? Okay. By now, you should know that the area of a sector is n over 360 pi r squared. Okay? You need, however, to find this angle measure because it's asking you for the shaded regions. It's so I guess someone decided to remove just one slice of the pizza and now they want to calculate the area of the whole thing. So, there are 360 degrees in a circle. This blue angle is going to be 300 degrees. Sorry, I just said the answer. I apologize. 300 degrees. It's 360 degrees minus 60, which is what's given here, and that equals 300. So the area of the sector is 300 over 360, pi times a radius of 8, and you square it. Let's plug in 300 over 360 and 8 squared. 300 over 360 times 8 squared. Why am I not plugging in a pi? Well, because if you look back at your answers, everything is in terms of pi. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and we get 160 over 3. So your area is 160 over 3, and then just attach on the pi at the very end. So your answer is going to be choice 4. All right, moving on to question 22. A circle whose center is the origin passes through the point -5, 12. Which point also lies on this circle? So I want to draw a quick figure of what this will look like. Now, there is some mathematics in this question where if you know trigonometry, like actual trigonometry, not so like advanced trigonometry, you could get this question in a blink of an eye. But I have to show you how to do this the geometric way that you learned in geometry class. So it's centered at 0, 0, and it passes through the point -5, 12. So this is the point -5, 12 up. That is an ugly 5. This is the point -5, 12 up here. Okay? And your job is to find the length of the radius, because we don't know what the radius is. Because remember what you're trying to do. You're trying to figure out which point lies on the circle, but the equation of this circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to the r squared. We have to find the r squared. The x squared and the y squared are fine because it's centered at the origin. We need to find r squared. And the only way that we could do that is to use the distance formula. So, this is 0, 0. d is equal to the square root of 0 minus negative 5. Again, what's up with my 5s? Jeez. 0 minus negative 5 quantity squared plus 0 minus 12 quantity squared. That is the square root of 25 plus 144, which is equal to the square root of 169. So d is equal to the square root of 69, which is equal to 13. So your radius is 13. Okay? So your r squared, however, is equal to 169. So your equation of this circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to 169. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to use this equation along with the multiple choice that they give you and plug in the coordinates and see which one works algebraically. Just to save a little bit of time, I will tell you that the answer is choice 3. And in order to do that, your 11 is your x value, your 2 radical 12 is your y value. So I'm going to plug those in just to show you how it works. So I'm going to plug in 11 squared plus 2 radical 12 quantity squared. Does that equal 169? We'll plug that into your calculator. 11 squared plus 2 radical 12 quantity squared. That equals 169. So therefore it works. 169 is equal to 169. And therefore choice 3 is the answer because that does in fact lie on the circle. Okay, moving on to question 23. A plane intersects a hexagonal prism. The plane is perpendicular to the base of the prism. Which two-dimensional figure is the cross-section of the plane intersecting the prism? So what you have to know is, well, what is a hexagonal prism? Well, to the best of my ability and drawing ability, the hexagonal prism is just a prism that has the bases that are hexagons, and it looks like this. All right. For some reason, I think of like fancy skyscrapers that look like this, like office buildings or something. All right. This is the hexagonal prism. So it says there's a plane. A plane is perpendicular to the base of the prism. Well, the base of the prism is down below here. That's the base of the. Well, these are technically both bases, but I like to consider the base, the bottom. And there's a slice that's going down the prism. Well, what is the cross-section of the plane intersecting the prism? Ladies and gentlemen, it is the face of the hexagonal prism. What figure is that? That's a rectangle. So therefore, it is going to be choice 4. Triangle, trapezoid, and hexagon make absolutely no sense. Hexagon, the cross-section would be a hexagon if the cross-section was horizontal, meaning parallel to its base. This is saying perpendicular to its base. So it has to be a rectangle. And the last question, 24. A water cup is in the shape of a cone and has a height of 4 inches and a maximum diameter of 3 inches. What is the volume of the water in the cup to the nearest tenth of a cubic inch when the cup is filled to half of its height? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw myself a cone. All right, and this is the water cup that you get at like the dentist's office, so, or the doctor's. So we get this shape here. Just one second, I'm going to straighten this out just a little bit. There we go. There's my cone. And it says here that it has a height of 4. So that has a height of 4. And it says that it has a maximum diameter of 3 inches. So therefore, your radius from one point to the end is going to be 1.5. That's your radius. Okay? So, and then it says here, what is the volume of the water in the cup to the nearest tenth of a cubic inch when the cup is filled to half of its height? So, to half of its height, that's right here. Now, we need to find the volume of this, ladies and gentlemen. We need to find the volume of this right here. So the volume of that water level, we need to figure out, well, what's the height? The height is now 2 because it's filled to half of its height, and the radius is half of 1.5. The radius is I'm sorry, I just said 1 point. It's 0.75. That's the length of the radius of the smaller cone. So the volume of the water level, or the smaller cone, whichever how you want to think about it, is 1/3 pi r squared times the height. Okay? So that will become, the volume is equal to 1/3 pi. The radius is 0.75 squared times the height of 2. When you plug this into your calculator, you get 1/3 times pi times 0.75 squared times the height of 2, and you get 1.18, or 1.2, because it says round to the nearest tenth, right? Yes, 1.2. And that is the volume of the cone when it is filled halfway. And that is the end of the multiple choice section. I hope that you learned a lot from this video. Please hit that subscribe button down below. And make sure that you visit my website at www.nysmathregentsprep.com for much more math content coming, and that is already up there. And I hope to see you soon.